thinking back. Drop the class, too established, that the magic, saw the magic, got a mask, who was that? Living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind, never tried, tell him all. If I am in second, it's after no one, just give me a second to let them know. I'm the headline, the deadline, big time. I'm ahead time, the rare kind, big time. I'm a living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind, big time.
Welcome to Canada, a year-round haven for nature lovers, the perfect setting to welcome the world's best triathletes for the T100 in Vancouver.
Mother, the prodigals coming. Father, what was mine? Otters ready and waiting. Just a little sacrifice.
Sam, Siaya, Ichwayo, Sam, on behalf of our elders, our youth, gives me a privilege and honor to welcome the PTO T100 Triathlon World Tour to the shared territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
On behalf of the Squamish Nation, I'm proud and empowered to be here to welcome you to the territories, but most importantly, for your experience during your competition. Our spirits are with you and lift you up.
On behalf of our nation, we welcome all competitors and visitors to our unceded territory and shared territory of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
As you experience the competition, let the lands empower you and give you that strength. Best of luck during your time in competition. I'll see ya.
You are now in the hands of the starter.
On your marks.
So away we go here in Vancouver. The T100 has arrived in Canada, and over the next few hours we're going to get treated to watching some of the best triathletes in the world take on this brand new course. Up first, a 2-kilometre swim broken up into 2 1-kilometre laps before the athletes make their way onto the bike. Vicky Holland, we've had 3 different entrances, haven't we, into the water so far on the T100 this season. What have you noticed so far?
Yeah, so today we do have a beach run-in. It's actually my favourite of the swim starts. I think it just allows a little bit more separation really early on. And the men here racing at relatively high tide, so they didn't have a particularly long run-in, whereas the women a bit later on today are racing at a little bit lower tide, so they've got a much longer run to get into the water. Now that white cap there, I'm pretty sure is Mark Dubrick. He was our lead swimmer in San Francisco as well, so I'm fully expecting to see him feature right at the front of the racing again. And the other thing that I've noticed super early on this race was as the athletes were lining up, Rico Bogan was the only athlete to be wearing booties. Now, booties and gloves are optional in the water temperature we've got here today, but he was the only athlete who decided to go ahead and wear them. And I actually heard him say that he wore them in San Francisco because he put his run socks on underneath. So he's already got his socks on. He won't have to do that in transition. So just maybe a little marginal gain for him there later on in the race.
Yeah, we saw yesterday, didn't we, in the swim familiarisation, the athletes get the chance to try out this course and just get familiar with exactly the challenges that it's going to represent. As I'm just going to point out, actually, they're going around to the right of the buoy, and that's what they've been advised, or that's what they have to do to go around. It's to protect them from the pier, which you will have just seen them running past on the way out from the beach. But yeah, and they've obviously been able to get familiar with this course. I mean, how much attention do athletes pay to I mean, this is a brand new course for them, isn't it? So they've got to have I imagine they've got to be more switched on than ever about the unique challenges of somewhere like this.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not a course that any of the athletes will have done before. There has been racing in Vancouver, but not for, I think about 17 years was the last time we had a really top-level race in Vancouver. So a long time ago. Some of the athletes have been based right here at race site for the last 2 weeks since San Francisco, really getting used to the conditions, swimming in the water as often as they possibly can. So that lots of those athletes have already been here. Some of them are seeing it fresh in the last few days. But they will absolutely have to take into account that the fact that the water here, the currents are quite strong. And we know that we're expecting to see stronger currents when the women race in a few hours' time because they are dealing with a lower tide. So at lower tide, the currents affect them slightly more. And we might see them sort of wiggle around a little bit as they try and head out to those far turn buoys. So we are here starting the 2-lap swim course, 1 kilometres per lap with an Aussie exit as we usually do. Once out onto the bike course, we've got 5 laps, roughly 200 metres of elevation per lap. Small dotted section there denotes an extra on lap 1 just to make up the distance. Once then out onto the run, it's a very similar run to San Francisco, hard-packed gravel, 1,500 metres in and out, 3 kilometres times 6, making the 18K.
Very good. And from what I've heard so far from the athletes, they're really enjoying the challenge of this course. It's quite similar, is it, in characteristics to San Francisco? What are perhaps the differences? What should we look out for, and why might we not get the same result as we were in San Fran?
Well, this is the perfect shot to explain that. Look at the distance, the separation we've got in the swim already. We did not have that in San Francisco. The current in San Francisco was pushing the athletes from behind. It was a point-to-point swim, of course, with them being dropped from that boat as they went into the bay there. Here they have to deal with all the currents, all the waves. It's a very different swim, even though you would look at it and say, well, they're swimming in the sea, it's a very similar temperature, but it's a very, very different course. And already look how strung out that swim is. We haven't got a bunched together pack. Mark Dubrick here is really stringing this out early on. You can see the cap so the athlete in second place, unfortunately, has lost their coloured cap, but in third place, you can see that's Martin Van Riel's sort of, I'm going to go with teal coloured cap that he's got there. But just look how far apart they are front to back. First athlete has just gone round second turn buoy here, second red turn buoy. Our back mark has only just gone round the first. So that's a huge separation early on in the race. We did not see that at all in San Francisco.
So as they start to make their way onto the sand and get out the water, what's the perfect technique here, Vicky, in terms of hitting the sand at the right point and making sure we're not expending too much energy by losing technique?
Well, I know, again, it'll be different for the men to women because they'll have had a shallower run-in, a longer run-in, but I expect to see some dolphin dives here, or at the very least some really high knees, bringing the legs wide as they run out the water. You don't want to trip over. We're a little bit far away to see exactly what they're doing, so there's not really time for dolphin dives, but trying really to get the knees up high there. We can see Mark Dubrick doing that. Not quite as good from Martin there, but we have also heard that it's really, really muddy in the water there. Now, that could be Miguel Hidalgo right at the front.
Yes.
It is Miguel Hidalgo. So he's lost his cap as well. We were expecting to see him in a yellow hat. His hat, unfortunately, has popped off. But the Brazilian on debut is someone I know we are incredibly excited to see race. And he's leading at the first turn after the swim.
Yeah. Miguel Hidalgo then in the lead. Morgan Pearson in second. Mark Dubrick in third, Martin Van Riel in fourth, Antonio Benito Lopez fifth, Carl Smith in sixth, Mika Newt in seventh, Wilhelm Hirsch in eighth, and Jason West in ninth. So as things stand, that's still Mark Dubrick out in front.
Mark Dubrick in the white hat.
Beg your pardon, sorry.
Mark, he's still where he was, though. You are right.
Yeah. Mark Dubrick in third.
Morgan Pearson
Apologies.
Leading the way still. He has taken on this whole second lap. I sort of expected maybe someone to come round him, but as I sort of touched on before, he seems to be pushing this pace on pretty hard, and no one can kind of get that close to him. So Miguel Hidalgo still sitting in second.
The men about to exit the De Boer swim course, the front four that we've just mentioned, will make their way through to the first transition zone. They will get on the bike and then they will begin 80 kilometres around this part of Vancouver. We're really excited about seeing the bike course because it's got a bit of everything, has this bike course. But attention now turns to the exit of the De Boer swim course. And out our athletes go.
First thing to note is that's definitely more than a 10-second gap, which is what they had at the end of lap 1. So they have extended their lead. No surprise with the pace that it appeared Morgan Pearson was putting down. And look how far ahead Morgan Pearson is already. He's just about to appear from, there we go, from outside of those bushes. He was lightning fast through transition in San Francisco, and he's doing the same again.
Yeah, our short course athletes who join us, coming from short course where it's such an important aspect, isn't it?
Hidalgo can't get his wetsuit off. There we go. I think he's just got a hold of it. Now, that might also be because his hands are cold. That's something you can really struggle to get hold of your zipper when you're really, really cold. So he seems to have managed to do it now, and he's back up running again.
Yes, last time we were out in San Francisco, they were doing Escape from Alcatraz on the Sunday, and I saw all of the age groupers get their wetsuits pulled off by volunteers because it's that hard.
They don't have anyone to help them in the professional race. That's not allowed. So, you know, they have to do it themselves. And I myself have had a situation where I've stood at my racking point in particularly cold conditions, unable to get my zipper down because my hands just wouldn't work. So it's incredibly frustrating, especially for Miguel, who obviously built up a really great lead, did a great swim, and then lost a little bit at that time. But phenomenal runner. He seems to have made up most of that distance now. I think he's already got his bike. There he is, just coming past Martin Van Riel now. So those two athletes going on the bike side by side.
Yeah, Hidalgo and Martin Van Riel making their way onto the bike out of that first transition zone.
And this is Willem Hirsch there, one of our wild cards, so a relatively last-minute call-up. And of course, nearest to screen there, that is Rico Bogan. All eyes are on Rico Bogan this week, quite rightly, after the performance he put in San Francisco. We just want to know what he's going to do next.
So eyes on Martin Van Riel there, and I just wonder what his tactics are going to be here, Vicky. He will have obviously studied what happened in San Francisco, I'm sure, an awful lot. Rico Bogan was able to build out a big lead off him, and I just wonder here if he's seizing the initiative and is kind of going, hold on a minute, no, I'm going to go out in front, I'm going to push the pace. Rico, you've got to catch up to me. It's not going to be done on your terms.
I think he doesn't really have a choice, to be honest. I think we now know what Rico can and likely will do. He's no longer the athlete of the beginning of this season where we thought he's going to ride really hard, but he might not be able to hold on the run. He showed in San Francisco that categorically he can, and his run is back to his best. So now Martin has to switch things up. You know, if Martin wants to get back on the podium, get back on the top step of that podium where we're so used to seeing him, he's got to go all in and try something a bit new.
So Sam Long, our final athlete out of the water, gets on his bike and he'll start his...
Big rules as well from the crowd for him. He's got a big fan base over here.
He's a popular athlete, isn't he? And I think everyone can relate to his sort of effort and endeavour that he always puts in. We love someone chasing. It's one of the great things to watch, and hopefully he can make his way nice and quickly up to the front.
Big time!
Right now there's a right old bunch of these athletes, and that's Rico Bogan there in the blue and white. Just deciding to move into the lead again. But yeah, interestingly, very bunched at the front.
Yeah, in fact, actually it might be 7. I think we've got 7 athletes at the front. So Rico Bogan, no surprises once again to see him go to the front. And I actually wonder if it was quite tactical by Kyle. We saw when they went through the technical section at the end of lap 1, he really bunched up close. He went round an athlete, he got himself right to the front, so that someone like Rico then has to go further if he wants to get back to the front. So if he wants to make an attack and he's third wheel or fourth wheel, he's got to go 40 metres before he's even at the front of the race. So by putting Rico further back in that technical section, they've made it harder for him to attack them. So that could have been a real tactical move there by Kyle Smith. But yeah, we've got 6-7 athletes who've made into sort of a bit of a front group here. They've got just under 10 seconds from Antonio Benito Lopez, who is currently in 8th. So those 7 athletes you can see on the side of screen now: Mika Newt and Rico Bogan, Kyle Smith, Martin Van Riel, Jelle Geens, Miguel Hidalgo, and of course Panagiotis Bitados. So that's all the runners and riders that we were super excited to see today, especially with those 2 wild cards at the bottom there, Miguel Hidalgo and Panagiotis Bitados. We love a wild card surprise.
In this group, they're working together. I mean, Do you think little words are going to be exchanged between them about the pace and just talking to each other and recognising that they're in a fantastic position, these guys?
I highly doubt it. I think the only thing you might get is if one of them is potentially sat further back all the time and not doing any work. But the one thing that's really important to notice right now is there has now become a very distinct separation between these top four: Kyle Smith, Mika Newt, Martin Van Riel and Rico Bogan, and fifth place in the Alleghines. So we saw him yo-yo slightly off the back earlier on in that lap, but now he has dropped. He's 12 seconds back on fourth place, Rico Bogan. So, and as we just get an updated graphic there, that's actually now 14 seconds. So a little bit of separation now occurring from those top four as they are now out onto lap 3. We've got these four leaders. They've got about 20 seconds on the two behind them, Jellegins and of course Panagiotis Bitados. We know how well both of those two can run. So if those two hit the run course together, they could be a force as they run literally stride for stride along our run. And then just another few seconds behind Antonio Benito Lopez, who's been really solid so far this season, and Miguel Hidalgo, who've been so excited to see too. So this is shaping up beautifully.
And that looks like Mikanita's got a penalty.
So disappointing. He was obviously having a great race today, full of confidence. We've spoken about it all week. There we go. So we did in fact see Mika Newt getting that drafting penalty.
The thing here, Vicky, you just can't rush back into it. Just get your legs going again. Just stay on your pace. There goes a couple of athletes by.
Well, that's it. I was actually, as you were talking there, Greg, I was looking at the timing splits that we had on the left-hand side, and I thought he's going to get on his bike again just as that second pack come past him. And that could be really useful for him because obviously he's lost touch with those four leaders, or the three other leaders now, but he does now have a group to ride with, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him take his time, build in, go back to the front of that pack and just try and start minimising the gap to the front three.
Mika Newt sitting 1 minute back. Now this guy right here is going to be responsible for all the pace setting on the final lap today. If Rico stands a chance at winning this race, he has got to go in that last lap. Kyle Smith coming back to great form. Martin Van Riel, slow start to the year, but that was on purpose. He did a long distance race in South Africa. A week later, backed it up with a great hot and humid third place in Singapore, and now finding his form just after San Francisco in just outside of the top 5. So you've got all the favourites all within about 1 minute and 10 seconds from each other right now. Guys, this is going to be a fantastic climax to what promises to be a great run.
I dropped back straight away. I was struggling to keep up and I was going off.
Wow. So what we believe we've just seen there is Kyle Smith being awarded a drafting penalty. Now we're going to have to wait and get confirmation on that, but it did look as though he was given a blue card. We're not sure exactly why, possibly on the wrong side of the corner. We'll wait to get exact confirmation on why that is, but that is devastating at this point in the race. Kyle's had a brilliant day out there. This is poised beautifully for that three-man run battle, the same three men that we saw in San Francisco. No one wanted to see that.
Jellegins is that guy that can just throw down an 18K like no other, and we saw him do it at the end of last year. He was by far and away the best at the second part of 2024.
And I think he's been the biggest beneficiary of Mika Newt's drafting penalty, because he was able to regroup, just go with Mika when Mika made that move and started closing in on these front three. And he's gone from being a minute behind with still a good couple of laps to go to only being 35 seconds down. That is a perfect position for Jellegins right now.
Yeah, so Carl Smith.
It's a shame we don't have VAR in triathlon.
So there we go, Carl Smith taking his minute drafting penalty. And this will feel like an age, but he's getting in some water, getting in his nutrition ahead of the run leg.
And that's honestly all he can do now. He'll have just seen there Mika Newt blast by him, and we saw him ask for a bit of VAR in triathlon, and it's obviously still weighing heavily on his mind.
Yeah. And guys, just to reiterate that a drafting penalty is non-disputable.
Yeah, it's certainly not. So 12 seconds, 11 seconds left of this penalty. And Jelle Geens as well. Similarly, getting ready. I think almost Antonio Benito Lopez went a little bit far past his stand.
Flying into transition there, didn't he?
So Martin van Riel overtaking Rico Bogan there to take the lead here in Vancouver.
Here we go. So Rico Bogan only working at 83% of his max heart rate, but he had a smooth transition. He already had his socks on, shoes straight on, out of transition, had a 5-6 second gap on Martin van Riel. Martin closed that within a kilometre. To close 5 or 6 seconds in a kilometre, that's a lot. That's a big push he's had to put in there.
And I think Jelle Geens can actually see the motorbike now in front. That is the back.
And you can literally see he's got Martin van Riel's heels in his sight right now, and he knows with almost every stride he's closing down on these guys.
All right, as the men are making their way down on the run course, it's time to head over to the De Boer swim course for the women's race.
You are now in the hands of the starter. Take him on!
So the women's race underway here in Vancouver, and away they go, running off the beach. And
that's a great start from Ashley Gentle there. So Ashley Gentle's in the red cap. Obviously not always known as the absolute best swimmer we've got in the field, but a beach start is something that will really suit Ashley because she's got such good foot speed. She's also from Australia. We know this is the sort of thing they do day in, day out with the beaches and the great oceans they've got to swim in there. So yeah, brilliant start from Ashley Gentle. That's the red cap, and the yellow cap just coming around her now. That is Jessica Learmonth.
Yeah, Jess Learmonth, who has basically been at the front of every swim that she's done in the T100, both in San Francisco and in Singapore. And you can just see in the bottom left part of your screen, we've got eyes on the men's race, and Jelle Geens has now taken the lead.
He's taken
ahead.
Martin van Riel with him.
Yeah.
And Rico Bogan is starting to drop.
Goodness me. So this is where, to be fair, this is what we were used to seeing Rico Bogan doing. That's why when San Francisco happened, maybe he has expended a huge amount of energy on that race, and that just happened to be the one that it all clicked for him.
Yeah.
But now will be the ultimate test, won't it, if he can go with Martin and Jelle.
It's so hard to back up after your first massive win, and we don't know if that's exactly what's happening here or whether the other guys, Martin and Jelle, have just gone, we've got to take it up a notch, we've got to take risks, which we've seen them both do today. Martin by riding with Rico the entire time, and Jelle by choosing to go with Mika when Mika dropped back into that group. And whether this is just the products of that decision that they've made.
So we'll bring you any updates from that men's race as soon as we see anything different. But for now,
I think that's Lucy Charles Barkley. So on my, I don't know about you, Matt, but on my sheet, I thought she had a slightly different colour hat to that. But I'm going to go with that being very distinctively the stroke of Lucy Charles Barkley. We know what she looks like in the water. She's got an incredibly high turnover. She's always near the front, if not at the very front of the races. And so Lucy Charles Barkley taking on our swim to begin with here.
Yeah, she is the athlete in form in the women's field. She has won in Lanzarote recently. She won in Maryland last weekend. It's going to be really interesting to see how much she's got in the legs when it comes to the run part of this course. But for now, she's right where we kind of expected her to be honest, right at the very front.
It's
and
no surprise, is it?
Alongside Jess Learmonth as well.
Jess Learmonth, and then the athlete in third, I believe, is Maya Kingma. Now, Maya Kingma is a new athlete, not only to the T100, but to any sort of middle distance racing. So far, never raced over the middle distance, but has become known as a really strong athlete in short course racing. She's been to a couple of Olympic Games. She was 7th in Paris last summer. She was also 4th just a couple of weeks ago at the Alghero round of the Short Course World Series. But she was awarded her wild card here in Vancouver and frequently swims right at the front of the races with Jessica Learmont. So currently she is in 3rd place, and behind her is the white cap of Holly Lawrence.
So it'll be interesting to see the kind of line these athletes take on this De Boer swim course. As you can see, the bib numbers there, those are the numbers that will be on the side of the athletes and will also be on their swim caps as well. So ones to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, this is obviously a very, very different course to what the men had earlier. We've got a big change in the tides. They've got further to run into the water, so completely different conditions for the women.
Yeah, a lot further to run into the water. We know that the sand is almost kind of muddy, and so that's quite a lot harder for them to run through. And then we're expecting the current to sweep them a little bit further off course.
Big time!
The water looks a lot choppier than it did this morning.
Doesn't
Certainly
it? Yes.
When we were down there by the start-finish line at the very start of the men's race, it was very, very still and very, very calm. It looks like the women are getting a slightly tougher swim here, perhaps, than the men had earlier. But they'll start to find their way to the exit here.
And I'm going to be fascinated as well to see the gap back to Julie Deron. She's an athlete we know is not in that pack. She's wearing a blue cap, so we'll keep eyes on her. But our winner from San Francisco is not right at the front of this race early on.
So
very different exit to the men. The men immediately were able to start running. The women have got to do some of those dolphin dives because it's just a completely different tide time that they're dealing with.
So, out of the water for lap 1 on this De Boer swim course. They will make their way up the Aussie exit through the crowds.
I was just going to say there, the first 3 seem to get out much quicker, much more smoothly than Holly Lawrence, Taylor Knibb and Taylor Spivey behind them. So there has been a little bit of a gap created just as they got out of the water. And you saw Taylor Knibb run around Holly Lawrence and try to sort of correct that. And she knows that now's the moment if she wants to get onto the back of these 3.
Yeah, the drone shot there really proving the point of just how big the gaps are so far in this race as our leaders make their way into the water and begin the second lap. So we'll keep an eye on the women's race, but this men's race is reaching its climax here in Vancouver. Jelle Geens and Martin van Riel. It's just who has got the legs, who has got enough left in the tank.
As we're talking about it, Jelle Geens has made a move.
Wow.
He has surged out of that turn. So that turn was 3.5 laps into our 6 laps. We've got 7.5 kilometers to go. And now is the moment. Jelle Geens has pressed on. Martin van Riel right now, he's got to respond. He doesn't seem to have anything to quite get back up to Jelle Geens, but this is where he's got to find something, or Jelle Geens has got this race sewn up.
We'll come back to him shortly and find out what could be the difference between him winning and not winning, see if anyone's got an answer. But for the time being, we're going to focus on the end of the women's swim.
And it is those 6 athletes. So the 3 girls who are a little bit distant out of the Aussie exit have made it back on. That's Holly Lawrence in the white cap at the back, Taylor Knibb in the pink cap, Taylor Spivey just in front of her. And then our front 3, as they were, Lucy Charles-Barclay, Maya Kingma, our wild card on debut, and Jessica Learmont.
They make their way out of the De Boer swim course onto the sand. So here we go then, the first transition zone for the women's race. And this is a case of who can get on their bike in the smoothest possible fashion.
See there on the ticker that Alice Beto is now out the water. So she was the athlete just dangling off the back of this pack at the end of lap 1 and has been distanced by a further 40 seconds on lap 2, but is now totally alone in 7th place.
Jess Learmont and Lucy Charles-Barclay, you can see it's a fantastic transition for Lucy Charles-Barclay and indeed for Jess Learmont. They are able to get out nice and quickly.
Both the Taylors putting their socks on, I can see, so no one else really did that, and it's showing how the difference it's made in their transition times.
Certainly has. Taylor's bike there just going in the slightly wrong direction, but she corrects it, and she'll make her way out onto the bike course as quickly as she can. Fantastic support from our local fans here. 10 deep in places, absolutely brilliant to see. This is getting very exciting for the final podium spot here in the men's race. Rico Bogan being hunted down by Carl Smith and Mika Newt.
Yeah, I mean, we might not get the battle for first place the way Yelagines was looking, but it does look like we're going to have a pretty exciting battle for that final podium spot. So they're just about to come up on Rico Bogan now. Rico's got to respond if he wants any chance.
Yelagines still happy to take the applause of the crowd with just over a lap to go here. Vicky, if you were Yelagines right now, anything running through your mind, anything that could stop you from winning this race?
It doesn't look like he's got any issues right now. I mean, you probably don't want a stone to go in your socks, but I think with 3 kilometers to go for a win, his second ever win at the T100, I think he'd probably just ride that out.
I think a stone in the socks now would be a horrendous way for this race to end. But yeah, I'm sure Yella. Well, look, he's got a 26-second gap. I'd say that's just about time to get rid of a stone in your sock. So the inevitable happening in the women's race. Taylor Knibb going round the outside there of Jess Learmonth and taking the lead in this women's race. Mika Newt has made a move into 3rd position ahead of Carl Smith and Rico Bogan.
He did this in San Francisco, didn't he, when he was running with Martin Van Riel. He really put a surge on, and he really battled out on the way out on the final lap, because he said that was into the headwind and that was his moment, and he's chosen his moment again. They are going out on the course on the final lap, and the way things stand right now, Carl Smith's going to get another 4th place. Oh, wow, look at those images of those orcas. That is just stunning, isn't it?
As interesting as the front of the
Sorry,
race
Jess,
is,
sorry, Taylor, but let's look at the orcas.
Been outstaged.
And he should enjoy this moment. Wins aren't that easy to come by, and he's earned every second of this one.
He certainly has. He stayed close enough on the bike. He managed to battle it out for 18 kilometers on this run leg. And he's going to take the tape here with Vancouver in the background. Yelagines wins his 2nd ever T100 race here in Vancouver. So Martin Van Riel didn't quite have enough on the run. This is a really, really strong performance from him, though.
Back on the podium where we're so used to seeing him.
Exactly. A brilliant performance here from Martin Van Riel. 2nd place for him, and he'll, I'm sure, get a congratulations from his good friend. And about to join them on the start-finish line is Mika Newt. A very impressive result, this. And he looks delighted with a 3rd place for Mika Newt. So we'll go from the finish line of the men's race onto the women's race. So tactically here, let's discuss what's going to happen between Taylor Knibb and Jess Learmonth. Do you think Jess is quite happy to sit on the back here of Taylor, who's clearly setting the pace?
The fact that she's riding right behind Taylor Knibb right now indicates that she's feeling pretty good, because let's have a look at down that leaderboard. These 2 athletes have taken 52 seconds out of the likes of Lucy Charles-Barclay, one of the absolute strongest cyclists, strongest all-round athletes in our sport, and they've taken 52 seconds out of her in 1 lap. We're now with Lucy Charles-Barclay currently in 3rd position on the road, about 50-odd seconds back from our leading duo of Taylor Knibb and Jessica Learmonth. I genuinely wouldn't have expected her to have lost quite that much time in the first lap, even accounting for the standard, the level of course, Taylor Knibb and Jessica Learmonth, but she's totally alone on the road right now in 3rd place.
But Taylor Knibb and Jess Learmonth have ridden this together. We've got 30k left, just over 30 kilometres left
Yeah, 2 laps to go now for these girls, and yeah, so far these two are putting a serious amount of time into everyone else. We've got Lucy Charles-Barclay, 2 minutes and 46 seconds down in 3rd place. Maya Kingma 3 minutes down in 4th place, and another great day out really for Holly Lawrence, currently in 5th at 3:06. So now we have moved back here to this, I believe, is Maya Kingma, I think. There we go, yes. So she is our wild card who has never so far raced over this distance, so real unknown. Fascinating to see how she's going to do. As I said, she does a lot of bike racing back in the Netherlands, as well as, of course, short course triathlon, which she's done for a really long period of time now. Been to the last 2 Olympic Games. Has even won a short course World Series race. Shouldn't forget to mention that. So incredibly strong athlete.
Big time. This is the moment we waited for. Everything you want is right here. Foot on the gas, ain't no slowing down. Aiming for greatness, no settling. Kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Taking the wells, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Running the game now. Foot on the gas, can slow down. No. Watching the wells, yeah, I gotta win. Watch me kick down the doors, they won't let me in. Watch the game change, yeah.
So Julie Duron currently in 6th place for the day. She's 5 minutes and 20 seconds behind. Now that's obviously not the impeccable position that she was in coming off the bike back in San Francisco, where she just had a 1-minute deficit to Taylor Knibb, and is, of course, as it says there on screen, the only athlete so far to ever beat Taylor Knibb in a T100 race. But to do so today, she's going to be looking at taking out more than 5 minutes on Taylor on the run, and that is a huge ask.
So here we go then, the end of the bike course for Jess Learmonth and Taylor Knibb, 1 and 2. And you can see all the bikes there of the age groupers who are going to be taking part over the next, well, over tomorrow.
And you can see, of course, Taylor Knibb's already got her socks on. We saw her take the time to put those on in T1. So she will have undoubtedly a faster T2, as I expect Jess to take the time to put those socks on now.
It's always remarkable when you see these athletes going into transition. They're trying to balance the bike. Is that something you practice as well, trying to direct your bike? And especially when you're tired, I imagine that's fatigue-inducing.
Yeah, we usually hold them by the saddle, and they're pretty good in a straight line, as we predicted there. Taylor Knibb going straight out first, and not too slow at all there from Jess Learmonth, going out just a few seconds behind.
Just looking at the transition times for T2, 42 seconds for Taylor Knibb. She did not hang around. Jess Learmonth, 47 seconds, 5 seconds slower than Taylor Knibb. Lucy Charles-Barclay just her bike there and actually got overtaken into T2.
That's right. Lucy's never been an athlete to do what we call a flying mount, which is when you run and jump onto your bike at T1, or to do a flying dismount, which we saw Holly Lawrence do and overtake her there coming into T2. So it's not necessarily something that plays massively into racing in middle distance, but it did give Holly just a couple of seconds there ahead of Lucy.
But you never know, come the end of today, those seconds might prove very valuable. Lucy choosing to sit on the floor.
Yeah.
The most efficient way, she thinks, of getting those shoes on. And out she goes onto the run course. Just seen the transition time from Maya Kingma, 37 seconds.
Well, she blew by in the background when we were watching Lucy Charles put her socks on. So very impressive from Maya Kingma there. I'd be interested to know whether she's got socks on, already had socks on, or whether she's gone without them. She's definitely got calf sleeves on. Just don't know if she's got socks on as well.
It was a whole 13 seconds quicker than Lucy Charles-Barclay.
Yeah. I mean...
Just goes to show, doesn't it, that...
Impressive.
Very, very impressive.
Julie Duron only 45 seconds or so behind those three in front. And that was, again, a very fast transition from Julie Duron as she heads out onto the 18Ks, and she knows the exact task that lies ahead of her. She's got to try and take out somewhere 5 minutes and 46 seconds she is behind Taylor Knibb. You can't help but think that might be insurmountable, but she has got a very good chance of catching these girls just in front of her. And can she catch up to Jess Learmonth? And here we go. So she's just coming up to Lucy Charles-Barclay here, passing her in the opposite direction. Yeah, quick check of the watch so she knows exactly what the gap is to her. And here you go, she's passing now Holly Lawrence as well, going in the other direction. There's Julie Deron, so expect another little time check. We didn't quite, oh, there we go. We did catch it, we did catch it. So yeah, that is the meticulous and analytical Taylor Knibb, caught in action doing exactly what she does.
Taylor Knibb all by herself out in front.
Just where she likes to be, I would imagine.
It's where she feels at home, isn't it?
It is, and here we go. So Julie Deron is about to make the pass on Holly Lawrence, and we spoke about how good and fluid and compact Holly has looked. But there we go, we've got Julie Deron blasting by her.
That was really round the outside, wasn't it?
Really
Incredible
was.
move. So that is Jess Learmonth. How do you think she's running, Becky?
Actually, she's moving along well. The cadence is good. The arms are moving nicely. It's not the style, the effortless style that we see from a Julie Deron or from a Jelle Geens, but it is functional and it is working for her. And at the moment, she is holding strong in second place.
If you go back to San Francisco, where Taylor said that I didn't have my best run, well, she's having a best run today. She looks great. She's up on the toes there. Her form is absolutely brilliant. You can see her turnover's nice, and the arm carriage not quite square, but who really cares when the hips and everything else is working and the biomechanics are in place?
So it's going to come very close here. Jess is at the real crunch point now where she's got to hold on tight. And Julie Deron will be able to sniff that she's getting close.
That's a 7-second change in the last comparison that we did. Now, the one thing here for Jessica Learmonth is she's going to get two more looks at Julie Deron. Now, Vicky, we know
Julie's going to love that, and I'm not sure Jess will.
I think she's going to be looking the other direction. Yeah. So you know what happens when you're getting deep into a race, you're summoning on all the energy that you can possibly drag out of your body. The last thing that you want to do is have a mental breakdown, right?
Yeah.
And see your competition absolutely flying when you are struggling. So let's hope she can hold it together, just put one foot in front of the other and try not to lose too much time.
Well, if I was her, I would be putting maximum effort in until the last time I pass Julie Deron. So the very last time she passes her, she's probably still going to have over a kilometre to run, but try and make the gap stick now, and then that will break Julie, knowing that when Julie thinks, oh, I can't actually catch her now, she's managed to hold that gap.
Vicky, this is down to 10 metres. Look at this. It's coming down exponentially fast. And look at the way that she's getting it done. Look at the turnover. If you count those steps right now, the cadence has to be about 10 RPMs more on the side of Julie Deron rather than Jess Learmonth. Look, Jess Learmonth's a good runner, but Julie Deron and the lady in front of Jess, Daniela Kleiser, just so happen to be the two fastest runners in T100 right now. It used to be Ashley Gentle, but look at the way that these ladies have really worked on it. They've worked on their pacing, they've worked on their strides, and they've worked on putting all three sports together. Julie Deron now just about goes into second.
So Julie Deron right on the back of Jess Learmonth. It looks like she might just catch her right before the end, but for the time being, our attention is going to focus on Taylor Knibb, who rounds the final few corners. The pass has happened, as Vicky just mentioned. Julie Deron into second. Jess Learmonth will have to settle for third place. But today in the women's race belongs to Taylor Knibb. She had to fight so hard on the bike with Jess Learmonth, but no one could catch her on the run. She's been in a class of her own. The city of Vancouver in the backdrop, a fitting backdrop for the class of Taylor Knibb. Back to winning ways on the T100 here in Vancouver. Taylor Knibb is our winner.
And that's a big smile there for Taylor Knibb. You can tell that she's pretty delighted to put herself back on the top set where she belongs.
I think Vicky, she just, there was a sigh of relief, and it's just like, I knew I was going to get the job done today, and I did it. I'm proud of myself. So well done, Taylor Knibb.
There we go, a lovely hug at the finish line as well. Oh, I'm so proud of you. There we go. What a lovely moment.
What an incredible day. What can be said about the Olympic silver medalist?
She still chomped away at that lead of every other athlete in front of her and came home with second place. I mean, she could have shut it down and settled for third. She didn't want to do that. That is the mark of a champion. Julie Deron, second place here in Vancouver.
Started off as a gloomy day, but the heat haze and the sun now out on a hot finish by Julie Deron from Switzerland. Another second place. And I think, Vicky, that she's just so happy to get the job done. I think it was
Relief.
a tough day.
Yeah, you can see how hard she pushed there. And look at the smile on Jess Learmont's face. And I'm going to try and hold it together here because that is a fantastic result for Jess Learmont. She put it all together. She held it together on the run. She nearly held on for second place. But a podium result for Jess Learmont after that swim and bike. So well deserved.
Tell me about the race today. Incredible bike leg. You and Jess seem to work really, really well together.
I was thrilled to have Jess there. And I knew that she would help me on the technical section, and then I could lay down power. And so on the first lap, she didn't come through, but then on the second lap, she did. I don't know if you saw, and I took that technical section so much better. And that's where it's fun, like, because you can learn in the race with the multi-lap course. Well, I have to thank my very, very patient and thoughtful team. I talked to my coach after San Francisco, and he said it would be tough, but based on how I said I felt, he said we could make some adjustments. And so we did some, like, because you have to recover, and then you can make some, like, little adjustments, and then you kind of have to, like, just get ready to race again. And then my manager kindly told me, he's like, when people get second, you can sometimes, like, throw the book out the window, but that's not what you do. So I made sure I have some very wise people in my corner, some very patient people in my corner, and I'm very grateful for everyone on my team and my family and my friends. So thank you to all of you.
Tell me that second place, how was that for you?
Yeah, I had a really tough day. My swim really didn't set me up for a good day, so I had to fight until the finish line, and I'm so glad that I got into second place. I'm super pleased with that after the day didn't start perfectly.
Yeah, we obviously were looking at your run and you were chasing down Jess. That was so thrilling to watch for us up in commentary. How was it to be a part of?
Yeah, for sure. And I know that Jess is a super tough competitor, and I kept getting splits, and I realized it's going to be super tight. Either it's going to come down to the last K or I wouldn't make it. And so, yeah, I just had to dig really deep. And when I saw that the gap was really close on the last lap, I just gave it my all.
Thank you, Matt. So here we go. We've got the standings after that race here in Vancouver. Taylor Knibb, of course, was our race winner there with a overall time of 3:30 and the fastest bike time, as you can see in purple. Julie Deron, fantastic finish there in second place. Fastest run of the day for her with a 1:03.24. And third place, first time on the T100 podium for Jessica Learmont. Further down the field, of course, fourth, Lucy Charles-Barclay. Fifth, Ashley Gentle, who ran her way up quite a long way on that run. And let's have a look at what that does to our overall standings in the lead to our race to Qatar. Julie Deron maintains her lead with 73 points, but with that first place today, Taylor Knibb shoots herself up to second place with 64 points.
Yeah, we came with a bit of a deficit out of the swim, and yeah, like guys like Rico, Mika, and Kyle, they went really hard to try and catch those first four, and it was really tough for me first lap. I kind of hung on. They got really hard in there, but then I knew I just had to pace myself well, don't give up. Mentally it gets tough, but then I actually got quite lucky with Mika getting that penalty, and I could try and follow him for another lap and actually gain some time against on the leader, so I could manage my deficit.
Yeah, what was your strategy for this race? Did you obviously look at what Rico did in San Francisco? Imagine all of you looked at what Rico did in San Francisco and thought, hold on a minute, we can't let him get that lead again.
Yeah, definitely. Like, he was so impressive there, and I think actually it was funny. Cal Smith said in the athletes lounge, like 50 minutes before the start, "All right, guys, we're not gonna let Rico go this time." And they didn't. I had to. But yeah, my plan is just like, yeah, to race up front, race hard. But then it's hard when you get dropped, actually. But I know my strength really is the run. So yeah, I had to just focus and try to keep that gap close enough so I could run to the front. And yeah, it worked out well in the end.
So the race result today, Jelle Geens taking a top spot with an overall time of 3:12.49. Martin Van Riel back on the podium in second, and Mika Nut on the podium for the second time in a row, taking third spot. And then we take a little bit of a look as to what that's done to our overall standings in the race to Qatar. Martin Van Riel jumps himself right back up to where he is used to being in top spot. He has now got 73 points to Jelle Geens 64, who's now in second. Rico Bergen drops down into third, also on 64 points. And Mika Nut again tied in fourth on 64 points.
It's going to be a couple of months until we see you next on the T100. We're going to be in London on August the 9th. But from all of us here in Vancouver, we've had a lovely day. It's been a long one, but we've had a brilliant time. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.